Welcome to the second edition in our Career Pathways series of webinars. This is about Pathways partners. These webinars are all being produced and led by your friendly state neighborhood career pathways expert. She's very passionate about it, and she came up with this on her own. She would do a webinar every month, which is awesome. So Lindsay has some special guests that are presenting with her today, but I will let Lindsay Tipton introduce them. Welcome. Oh, and I encourage you to turn your cameras on. It's more fun for the presenters if they can see some people. So thank you for those who have them on.
All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday afternoon, which feels like it should be a Friday. I think the week following a holiday week is always a little bit extra long. So, and it's freezing outside, which makes things a little bit more difficult. It's freezing in Raleigh, at least. So maybe it's warmer for some of you, but all right. So we are going to get started. I'm going to share just a little bit of information about partnering with other programs to implement career pathways. And then really the star of the show is going to be our friends at Rowan-Cabarrus, who are going to talk to us about some of the work that they've done in this area that has been very successful. So a little bit of background, Dr. Tony Reggi from the Perkins program was supposed to be here with us today, but they are being audited. So we are giving him a pass on that. I guess that's more important at the moment. So, but Tony and I started working together really pretty quickly after I started working here about 1.5 years ago. And, we're both doing a lot of work with pathways. And so even in this building here, we have a lot of silos that probably exist at a lot of the colleges or organizations that you're working with. And so we are trying our best here to break down silos so that in hopes that that will continue to trickle across the state, and that will help you to do the same at your programs. So Tony and I started kind of brainstorming different ways that we could help these efforts. And we ended up hosting a first we didn't really have a name for it. Maybe Pathway Partners is what we're going to call it from now on, because every time I try to talk about it and I don't know what to call it. But we hosted an event at Central Piedmont Community College at the end of September. And we had 10 colleges who had either expressed interest or who had shown some good evidence of having worked together across programs, and invited them to come as a college, different representatives from different programs from those colleges to come to Central Piedmont at the end of September. And our folks from CORD, who do our career pathways leadership trainings, came and facilitated a day. And there's a few people who are on this call who were at that meeting. And so I think that the feedback was that it was a really worthwhile day. And for a lot of programs, it was the first time that they were able to bring together somebody from curriculum, somebody from continuing education, somebody from CCR, somebody from advising, and all sit down together and look at, like, how do you do pathways? How do you do pathways? And how can we connect these pieces so that the students and the programs all and the community all see the greatest benefit? So it was a good day. And so now we are hoping to replicate that and do that several more times in the coming year, so that hopefully everybody will get a chance, everybody who wants to attend and engage in some of that work. So this is, a short piece that's a little bit of a summary. I stole one of their slides that they shared that day. So some of it I'm borrowing from them, but also kind of like a precursor to just kind of get your brains working and thinking about how this might work or look at the organization or college that you are at, and then hopefully we can support you as you try to engage in some of this work. And then Rowan-Cabarrus will share how they are actually doing this and give you some ideas on how you might get going. So it's a lot of stuff packed into a little bit of time, and I talk a lot, so I'll go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen. All right. All right, so first, what is a career pathway? I think everybody knows this, but one of the things that I wanted to bring attention to is that the definition of a career pathway is the same federally across. It's in Perkins, it's in WIOA, it's in several different pieces of legislation, and it's the same definition. So we are all working. Can you see the screen that says what is a career pathway? Okay, I just want to make sure because it's on two different computer screens and my desk, and I'm confused as to what everybody's actually seeing. Okay, so according to all federal definitions, a career pathway is a combination of rigorous and high quality education, training, and other services that, I'm not going to read all of these because there's a lot, and you've
So
probably.
Lindsay, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just seeing the title, and I think
Okay, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
All right.
So maybe yeah, there you go. What is a career pathway is now there.
Yeah, but when I'm starting it, it just goes to my other screen.
If you see at the bottom where it says display settings, it's kind of below the slide. Notes, yeah, it might be able to put you in no. Optimum, never mind.
All right. Well, you know what?
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
We'll just go with this, and you can just see what's coming over on the left, unless anybody has a better idea. It doesn't ever do that, so I'm not sure why it's doing it right now, but anyway. All right, so these are all of the different things that a career pathway includes. Aligns with the skills and industry of the economy, prepares individuals to be successful, includes counseling. So that's one of the reasons why we're focusing a lot on advising this year. The offering education concurrently and contextually as the workforce training, organizing education, training, and services to meet the needs in a manner that accelerates educational and career advancement of the individual, enables an individual to obtain a secondary school diploma or its recognized equivalent and at least one post-secondary credential. And it helps an individual enter or advance within a specific occupation or occupational cluster. So I think sometimes we tend to use the words career pathway or the phrases career pathway and IET interchangeably, and they are not the same thing. So an IET versus a career pathway. An IET is one piece of a career pathway. And so for a lot of us in Title II programs, it's the first piece of a career pathway. A lot of times students are coming to us after they've left high school or as they begin their educational journey, maybe here in this country for the first time or whatever it may be. And they are looking to increase their skills, either earning their high school equivalency or increasing their English language skills. And we would love to encourage everybody to also be working toward a workforce credential at the same time. So when they are enrolled in both a workforce training program and in one of our Title II programs, whether it's in ESL or HSE classes or adult high school, that is an IET. So a lot of what we're doing today and what we're talking about is remembering that while we're focusing on an IET, we still want to be looking at that whole pathway. We don't want to just present students with an IET as part of the Title II program and then say, good job, you're done, bye. You know, we want them to continue on that pathway if they want to. So they may choose to leave school for a little while and go work, and that's fine. But they may want to continue on that pathway. So we want to make sure that we're connecting that and that we're not just stopping kind of at the end of a dead end road. We don't want there to be a dead end road. We want there always to be a path. And there's places that people can exit, hop off, hop on, but there's always a path to continue if they choose. So it's nearly impossible to do this work alone. And I think that's one of the things that the people from CORD did a really good job of stressing. Also, I don't know if anybody on this call was there, but the National Career Pathways Network conference was last month and or this month, I guess. And there was a lot of focus on that too. And most of the sessions that I attended, it's just really nearly impossible to do this work alone. So if you are trying to implement career pathways and you are not working across different programs at the college, or if you're at a CBO, if you're not partnering with multiple other organizations to make it happen, it's going to be really hard for you, and your students are not going to be receiving the level of services and education that they could be. All right, this is one of the slides that I saw. I actually stole 2 slides from the cord people, and I had the next one I put a little credit on. I did not on this one, but according to Octave, there are pathways to credentials, and so the 3 essential components: engaging employers in strategic and sustainable ways. So as we are developing these career pathways, it's really essential that we are engaging employers. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but that's one of the reasons why it's really important for our programs to be working together and to be communicating well. Because if your CCR program is reaching out to employers, and your continuing ed program is reaching out to employers, and your foundation is reaching out to employers, it's just going to get messy, and it's going to make things, it's going to limit your opportunities instead of expanding your opportunities. Building career pathways based on industry validated stackable credentials. So that's why we've got the little stacking stones over here. So it's hard to offer stackable credentials if we're not collaborating across programs. So students might start in a CCR program, and then they may earn a credential in a workforce and continuing education program, and then they may continue on to curriculum and earn another credential diploma degree there. So if we're really working toward those stackable credentials, we really just have to be working across programs. And supporting completion through non-credit and credit alignment. And we're going to talk a little bit more, and that's part of what Tony would have covered if he was here, was that credit for prior learning piece, and making sure that students are receiving as much credit as possible for things that they may have already done, or things that they are doing concurrently, whether it be jobs that they've had, or apprenticeships, or military responsibilities. So there's lots of different things and different ways that people can earn credit for things that they've done. And this one really was straight up stolen from, cut and pasted from the cord training. So I did give them credit down there. But I really liked how they kind of put those 3 things together in this wheel here, and looking at the framework of essential components, why these things, really working with the strategic employer engagement. And then that leads to seamless career pathways. So supporting learners of all ages and skill levels, built on stackable credentials, and aligned to the in-demand and employment opportunities, collaboratively developed by educators and employers. So, again, in a perfect world, we are working together, not just across programs at our colleges, but with our employers and our community as well, so that we are responding to their needs. And then support for credential completion, recognizing that all learners are learners, providing credit for prior learning, course schedules and delivery modes that accommodate the needs of working adults. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. And efficient program design that accelerates credential attainment. All right, so why pathway partners? So number 1, for the students. Some students may need a stepping stone before beginning curriculum classwork. I've probably shared this story with a lot of you before, but when I was working at a college in a program, I was the director of a youth build program, and we started out by offering curriculum level construction classes for our students, and as well as curriculum level HVAC students. So we were our HVAC program. So we were running parallel continuing education courses, but they were the same as the curriculum level courses. And our students were really struggling. And so some people were encouraging me that we really needed to change that and offer a short-term credential. And at first I was really resistant to that, because I was taking it personally that that people did not think that our students were capable of completing the curriculum coursework. And I knew that they were capable of it. And so I didn't want to be watering anything down for them. And I wanted them to be having as much opportunity as they could. But then over time, I really came to understand that it wasn't that they weren't capable of doing that work, but they just weren't ready for it yet. And, some of our students had just left high school before finishing that. So it's hard to leave high school before you finish and then jump right into college classes. So sometimes some of these short-term credential programs are a really good bridge or stepping stone from one place to the next. And so some of our students might not be able to be successful if they go straight into curriculum classes, but if they have that kind of stepping stone in between with support from the Title II program, then they will be able to move on and stack that credential and be more successful as they travel through the pathway. Working collaboratively also streamlines services for the students. So as far as their academic needs, knowing what they need to do to move to that next step, and having staff and faculty at the college who understand all those different levels of the career pathway. So it's hard for curriculum people to assess what credit for prior learning a student might have if they don't understand the work that was done before they came to them. So really just having clear communication and understanding across those levels ensures that the students, all the work that they've done is going to be counted, and they will receive all of the services they need. Also, as far as financial aid, is again, just having an understanding of what people are eligible for at different levels and what they've completed, making sure that all faculty and staff and advisors at different levels understand the implications of how financial aid will impact the student, and conveying that message to the student. So understanding if you use this now and it doesn't work out, this is how it will impact you as you move forward. Building relationships. So it's great for the students. If you have a good relationship with your curriculum department, that's going to have this help the student to ease more smoothly from a Title II program into a curriculum program. And same thing for the community-based organizations who are here. You know, just having those relationships across, whether it's at your community colleges or with employers or with other training programs that you may work with. The better relationship you have, then the better relationship and transition your students will have. And again, the credit for prior learning. So making sure that if a student has worked for a certain amount of time in a certain field, that maybe they can get credit for that, and that maybe they can bypass then taking a first entry level course because they've received credit for prior learning for a job that they've had or some other opportunity that they've been through. So making this as doable as we can for our students, and acknowledging that they come with skills and things that they've gained through a variety of different ways before they come to us. All right, for the community. So again, streamlined communication is such a big piece of all of this. So with employer partners. And I kind of was thinking about this is almost like, you know, looking at the one college model, but being that way with our community partners as well, so that if an employer has a need and maybe their connection at the college is with a curriculum person or somebody who's in administration, but making sure that whoever they come into contact or whoever they talk to will know, oh, well, we could connect you here. That sounds like a really good workplace literacy opportunity that maybe our Title II program could offer. So kind of that single point of entry idea, not just for students, but for our community partners as well. Also, clean and professional funding conversations. So they gave the example, the Cord folks, when we did that opportunity at Central Piedmont in September. You know, if your foundation, say they have been working for months, kind of with a community partner, really hoping that they were going to end up with a big ask of asking them for $3 million to contribute toward building a new building on your campus or something like that. And they've been kind of grooming and having these meetings and leading up to this big ask. And then you come in and just ask for, you know, $10,000 for something for your program and blow the whole ask for $3 million. That's not going to go over very well with anybody. So the importance of, again, approaching employers as a unified front and knowing what other programs in your college may be working toward with some of our outside partners as well. And then opportunities for all through our combined programs. So again, with that understanding that if somebody comes to curriculum and they don't have everything they need to be in those curriculum classes yet, that whoever they go to will know to refer them to the Title II program and say, well, you know, the great thing about this is that we offer career pathways. So while you may not be ready to enter at this point in the pathway, we do have programs that start back here and you can enter there and then move toward this point. So having these conversations and working together really helps not just us work together, but helps our students and helps our external partners as well. All right, and for the institution, recruiting from within. So, so many times there are opportunities where there might be programs that are really looking for students, and you have a bunch of students. So you might, they might be looking to fill a IT class or looking to fill a healthcare class, and you might have a bunch of students in your program who would be interested in taking that class. And so sometimes the best place to recruit from is right within our own programs. Retention. So again, having our students working toward the goal, streamlining and continuing on that pathway, it helps to keep the students enrolled, keep them on the path, and help, excuse me, that communication. And we talked about the relationship building as well. So the more opportunities they have to connect with people along that pathway, the more likely they are to stay with you, because we all know that relationships are a big part of what bring our students to us and what keep them with us. So if we can kind of facilitate that relationship and social capital as they move through the pathway, that really helps with retention. Something that we talk about a lot and that can be a little bit tricky is enrolling in multiple programs. And I know that there's a lot of conversation, and I will admit that I do not have all the answers, and I don't have all of the knowledge that I wish I had to be able to solve all of these problems. But I'm aware of some of these challenges, and so I will continue working toward solutions. As far as students being enrolled in multiple programs, we want to be working together collaboratively and not fighting over FTE, really is a big part of this. And so sometimes that can be a challenge for some programs. And so we want to make sure that we find the best way to be looking at this as a holistic picture, and really how can we best meet the needs of the students while also supporting our programs. And not only making sure that we're looking at things in the big picture, but making sure that everybody in the institution is looking at that big picture as well. Scheduling, that was always one of the really tricky pieces of this. And so I think that is, again, if you are sitting down at the table with multiple different departments, and you can say, in our Title II program, we offer classes Monday through Friday from 9 to 1. So it would be great if we had a healthcare class that was available from 1:30 to 3:30, or whatever you may need, so that having those conversations, instead of just having, well, this is when we offer these classes and this is when we offer these classes, without any collaboration, it makes it really hard for those students to be involved in an IET and to continue on that pathway. So working together instead of working in silos makes this a lot easier. And I think scheduling is one of the best examples of that. And this is a lot of the kind of similar information, just actually pulled this from another presentation. And so some of it is some of the things that we just talked about, but increased completion rates as students are engaged in meaningful work. That's just a big piece of why IETs can be so helpful. If a student comes to you and they are just working toward their high school equivalency and they hated high school all along, they might not be real motivated. But if they're also working on welding and they love working with their hands and they're really excited about a career in welding, it's going to help them to be more motivated to complete the other academic piece of their training as well. Increased enrollment, we talked about that. Also helping to bring in students who are friends and family. So that's where that communication across programs help too. So there might be students who are in a curriculum level program who might say, oh, I have a niece or a nephew who would love this, but they haven't finished high school yet. And then they can be like, oh, well, we have a pathway for that. And there's a way that they can start. So I live in Sanford, and so it's a small town. And so many of our students came from those kinds of conversations. Improved outcomes for your students. So if you are continuing students on that pathway, either into a job or into another part of your program, that is guaranteeing you placement. So as long as you maintain it, maintaining that placement is another trick. But, again, if you're setting things in motion and making those connections and building those relationships, that will help with that placement piece. Increased median income. So one of the big goals of these career pathways and IETs is getting students into careers that offer a family sustaining wage. And a lot of times I hear specifically, often it's about CNA. Well, that's not a sustainable wage. Well, no, it's not, but it's a part of a pathway that leads to a sustainable wage. So sometimes if we're enrolling students in these programs, it might not be the very first step that is going to get you to that wage that you really need, but it's a step along that pathway. And you have to be a CNA before you can become a nurse. So if you're going to get to that sustainable wage, we do have to look at those steps along the pathway. And we talked about transition a little bit. And then again, looking at that funding as a whole and looking at FTE across programs. So trying not to focus on who's getting the FTE. I know that's hard. And I know that that's just how certain programs and colleges are structured. And again, I haven't solved that puzzle yet. But hopefully some of these some of these conversations would lead to more discussion around that and helping that mentality and focus on FTE and who is bringing in more money to the college, and really focusing on the overall FTE and the overall student success and continuation along those pathways. I just talked a lot and I talked fast. So we'll take a pause here before I pass it over to Jay and Mary Jane and ask if anybody has any questions thus far.
Lindsay, this is Vicki Graves at Gaston College. You know, I've got a question.
I'm glad.
Can you elaborate on the placement at second quarter after exit?
Yeah, so that is something that is measured usually by a data match. So, you know, if you have a student in your program and they fill out the LEIS form and they have their social security number or whatever identifying factors on that, then that is matched in certain, I don't know the name of them all, but the databases that are reported when students move into jobs. And so that is something that is a measure that is looked at is, you know, are those students with those same identifying factors moving from your programs into jobs. But I also think it's really important that we look at if they're moving into other programs within our college as well. So that was when I was in Title I, that was something that we had to report on that, and we had to track our students really closely to gather that information, and we had to get pay stubs and all of that. So we don't do all of that in Title II, but there is some of that data match that goes on to see about the students if they are being placed after they leave us.
And where do we get credit for that type of thing? Is there any financial credit, or I mean, does it show up in performance measures, or is it just for data purposes?
It does show up. Oh, I'm not good at all that, knowing like exactly where it shows up and what tables and all of that. I don't know if there's anybody, I don't think anybody else from our office, like Jessica or Arbany, or I know Arbany and Sandra are traveling. I can get you that information.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, well then I will turn it over to Mary Jane and Jay, and you can see how they have put some of this into action at Rowan-Cabarrus.
Good afternoon, everyone, from Rowan-Cabarrus Community College. Happy Friday Eve, as we say around here. Good to see so many people on. I'm going to give you a brief intro of how this whole thing came about. And thank you, Lindsay, system office folks, for the opportunity to talk about this. And basically what you guys started, we took it and ran with it. The groundwork for this really began in the spring of 2022. We attended our core training.
I think you hit mute, Jay. We can't hear you.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
For some reason it stopped sharing.
Give us 1 second.
Are we sharing now?
You are. We can see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, What part didn't you hear? Did you hear the beginning when we started, the spring of 2022? Did you hear that part?
No, it kind of ended pretty early.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let me start again. So we began in the spring of 2022. We attended our core training, and just like I said, absolutely fell in love with what was shown to us and demonstrated to us through the training. Attended our second core training, as a follow up. But really, from that first core training, what we took away from it was we needed to identify a champion on our college campus for this, and that is our esteemed colleague sitting next to me, Miss Mary Jane Hartley, who I just immediately felt like this is something that she would take and run with, because the population, our GED folks, are just primed for this and hungry for it, an opportunity to be successful. So I approached Mary Jane. She graciously said yes to it. And then from there, we started talking about who were the other key players in Con Ed that we needed to involve. And from there, it went to asking another lead instructor who is over our SOAR program to be involved. And then it involved who you're going to meet shortly here on this presentation, Miss Jess Webb, who is our assessment and retention specialist, to have her involved, to know how to plug and play this stuff with advances, as we all come to know and love. But anyways, so once we did that, then we came together collectively and said, okay, how are we going to pull this off? And Lindsay alluded to it in her part. It all comes down to partnerships. And we identified curriculum partners of who we wanted to partner with, that we had a good relationship with, good rapport with our students, that we knew would buy in. So that's exactly what we did. So we identified, our partners, such as our welding department and our nursing department and healthcare, continuing workforce, our IT department, automotive department, our billing and coding, and so on. And then what we did from there was we individually met with each program chair or director of the program and basically laid out a vision to them and why and what the intent of Career Pathways was, and how this would be mutually beneficial to both curriculum and Con Ed, and how it would benefit both programs and benefit our students in the process. So from these discussions, then it evolved even more and more. And Mary Jane came and said, hey, I have an idea to conduct and hold our first ever Career Pathways Expo. So that's where I will turn it over to Mary Jane.
All right. So as Jay said, this has been, can you hear me? I'm not sure. But this has been a joy in the journey, because we as a team get to work with amazing folks, and we were able to bring aboard, based on the partnerships and the relationships that we had with the various people that Jay just spoke about. It has to be a collective piece and getting buy-in, but the development of relationships within all these different departments, it made a huge difference when we said, okay, let's come and sit down at the table and talk about these career pathways and how it will benefit their program and our program as well. And so part of that career expo planning, we had, it was a large session with curriculum folks as well as Con Ed folks, like Joe was saying. Our data retention specialists, we'll talk about who all had a seat at the table. But it was a point to be able to explain what an IET was. We have acronyms floating around all the time within our programs. And so here was a new one to add to the list, but to help everybody understand what we were talking about and how it really is about getting a industry recognized certification for our students while they're still in their high school equivalency, and start building their workforce training. And so when we had, as I say, at the seat at the table, we asked these people, And so it was multifaceted. And as Jay said, within that whole year before, from the first core training to the second core training, it was a year meeting with people and having independent individual discussions so people would know moving forward when this planning session for the exact expo took place, that we would have everybody on board and knowing really what certifications they had to offer within their program so that it would be easy for them to say, you know, I think this is the best one that's going to fit for what you're looking for. And so very clear and concise information was given so that then we were able to choose the 6 that are listed here and to get these pathways approved with the IETs. I will honestly tell you, Lindsay, you were absolutely a dream working with and continue to be as we grow and build and submit more IETs. But you really helped break this down, not only in workshops that we attended, but you meeting with us and help, individually to help us. So it was wonderful having that support up front because it's all new. And when you're learning something new, you want somebody who's a guru to know what to do and help along the way. And she was so passionate, is so passionate. And so that spreads. So at this meeting, I shared what the IET looked like, what their component, the particular department chairs, what their part of the expo would be in terms of why it was important. So auto safety inspector, he had to know, oh yeah, this is why this auto safety inspection certification is going to make a difference, and it for our high school equivalency students. But also I talked to them about the North Star digital literacy. There are other different types of workplace preparation, but the best one that we have that's user-friendly is the North Star. We already have capabilities to use that and use it well. And so it was a smooth process to be able to incorporate the North Star digital literacy. And I will say I didn't list a huge amount of the certificates from North Star because the more you add to, the more you have to keep up with. So less is more when you are actually preparing and determining which one of the North Star digital literacy. Okay. Also, the less is more when you are choosing which ones of the IETs, career pathways, you are going to actually submit. The more you have at play, the more you're going to have to keep up with. So keep that in mind too when you are planning this. Okay. So these are examples of the ones that I shared at the planning meeting. And then what their part was, this particular slide let them see, okay, what's in it for them? What's in it for the student? The FTEs, as Lindsay was speaking shortly ago, it all has to help everybody understand our measurable skills gains. Well, they didn't understand what that was because they don't deal with that in their world and curriculum or in Con Ed. But helping them understand that is a huge piece for our program. And then students in the workforce will be able to share in just a little bit some testimonials from students who have already gotten their certification and completed their pathway in that respect. But helping everybody understand it is a win-win for all when we all come together. And so at the end of the meeting, we decided we were able to talk about the measurable skills gains and which ways and capacities that they would show proficiency. And then we decided who would be speaking, the flow of it, once the instructors, the department chairs, each one would take part and share their information about their program. And these were things that I asked them to share. As I say, less is more, so I wanted them to be sure and cover these aspects of this particular certification pathway that they were going to be encouraging the students to take that fit under the approved pathway. So we wanted it to be clear what the duration of the class was, the course offerings, supplies and fees. We were fortunate enough to have our R3 Center, which is our Career and Development Center. They scholarshiped all of our students that went through the first Career Pathway Expo. They scholarshiped all of them, which was a huge gift to those students. And hopefully more in the spring, we will do a March Expo so that students will also be able to be scholarshiped, but that will not everybody will get a scholarship due to funding. Okay, so we'll make that clear to the students. They can apply for it, and if they get it, that will be wonderful. So I wanted them also to talk about the benefits of the certification as they presented their own program, and then the different job opportunities within our Rowan-Cabarrus area. And they've been out and they talked to industries. They know the need. They know when they get a phone call from a certain employer. Do you have anybody coming out of the auto safety inspection class? Do you have anybody coming out of basic forklift? I'm at Chewy's and I need some people to be able to drive forklift. So all of these components that the department chairs knew, they were able to speak to about the job opportunities and which pathway would make the most sense for a student to pursue. We also had the R3 Center talk about the funding at that time during that expo. Okay. The flow of it went that each one would introduce the pathway. There would be, after they all presented, then the students were able to mix and mingle and talk and discuss with each one of the department chairs. And then they could only select one pathway to stay. And before they left that day, they would be able to have total enrollment within that pathway. And it worked beautifully. So all one-stop shop. And I think that is an important piece to say, because I've heard at several different core trainings and other workshops we've been in where people say, well, we can get one student here or there, but we just haven't been able to successfully launch a whole group of students into a pathway. Well, this is the way to bring everybody together. All the students heard from each one of the presenters. Then they were able to ask questions, mix and mingle, and then with a decision that day they left with, this is the pathway I'm pursuing. Okay. Then, so all of that occurred on September 26th. Our next one will be in March. But the follow-up piece was incredibly important. So not only the expo event itself, which took a lot of work behind the scenes, but then moving forward with the follow-up. So who needed to know what students had shown up, who finished, and that kind of thing. I developed a chart, a spreadsheet, and I shared it with our director, Jay Taylor, and then our retention data specialist, Jessica Wynn, our R3 coordinator who helped provide the funding and the scholarships for students. And then there were also the department chairs. They also got a list. They got the invitation for this Excel spreadsheet as well. So everybody has a copy, knowing when the students are going to come into take the class, the ones that have completed the class, and then the MSG that they obtained. Okay, so the follow-up is just as important as the setup, because we don't want to lose MSGs that are on the table, and but having a easy way to track it and keep up with it was critical, I think. Once they completed the course and were able to get that certification, then I handed off to Jess their certifications for the North Star Digital Literacy, and then the Certificate of Achievement that is printed out under our Con Ed classes. So far, we have not had any students yet apply for the curriculum classes that were presented that day. Okay. But we have been able to see a lot of these students, and this isn't all of the students, but the snippet of some of the students that have already completed and the ones that are yet to take on their particular course that will lead to their national or state level industry recognized certification. So I'm going to hand it off to Jessica Webb now, and she'll do the completion of the part which advances with the next piece moving forward with that. And then at the end, I'll share some testimonials. Jess, are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Jessica.
So my piece of it is very simple. Entering these completions into advances is just a couple of steps. But I wait until Mary Jane sends me the certificate on the left side when a student has completed a course. And I believe so far we've entered about 5 or 6 that have completed. So the first thing that I'll do, and you can go to the next slide, is I will make sure they are enrolled into the IET and advances. And so I'll just go into their enrollments and then just add this and make sure it's listed. And then the next piece is adding a copy of that certificate to their student portfolio. So I'll just go there, which you can find at the very bottom of the main page of the student's profile, and I'll click on Add New Document, which will take me to, sorry, it's the next one.
Okay.
Yes, this one. So then I'll just make sure to upload the file. So there I have a practice certificate. This was all done in the demo site just to make sure I could copy screenshots of these. I listed a student transcript. I will just put a title there and a description that will help me to know what's in there. And then I'll upload and save that. And then the next piece is actually going in and manually entering the outcome for the student. So I will just go in like you would for any other outcome, put the date, pick the MSG that they have earned, select that proper documentation has been added to their student profile, and then I'll save and I'll approve that outcome. And then I go in and I make sure that it's listed on the student profile, that it's showing on our tables. So yes, it's a fairly easy process. Probably the simplest part of all of this, but just those couple steps.
And Jessica, you've done a great job with all that because she's very efficient, but she's done an amazing job with this and understanding this new piece. Of course, we're all swimming in the advances pool, and she's done a beautiful job with that. So thank you, Jess. Greatly appreciate that. So on the back end, we have success stories from students who completed the auto safety course. That was one of our courses that was a one-day course. And when the students, we had the one student posted on Facebook that so much good news and accomplishments. She said, I didn't understand the detour at first, but I'm here to announce that my name has been entered to the DMV system and I can do your car inspections. Well, that detour means she, under ability to benefit, she had to take out a year before she could come back into our program for not making a measurable skill gain. And that, she could have quit. She could have decided, I'm not going to go after my HSE, but she didn't. She came back in, and this time that she came back in, she was able to do career pathways, and she now has a way to make some extra money and doing the auto safety inspection. So she was advertising for herself in the Facebook and letting people know that she's now working for a garage down the road here in Salisbury. Another one, she said, I am so thankful because auto safety inspection courses allowed me the opportunity to have my own business. And she is doing the buildable pathway. She is a next course in the new semester in spring. She loves auto mechanics, body work as well as auto, and so she's going to be building extra courses into her pathway. So we're so excited about that as well. And so that's what's it about, you know, having students be successful, having students go through this, feel a sense of accomplishment, even if they haven't yet finished their high school equivalency, they're doing it along the way, and that makes them more marketable, more successful, and they want to see things to completion. They've already said, I want to put this right beside my high school equivalency, my diploma, my certificate that I earned. That was a huge thing for them. So it is an exciting time to be part of college and career readiness with our students completing their HSE, but also having new things, tools in their toolbox to help them be successful. Okay, so we're going to open up the floor for any questions you may have. If there's any that we didn't cover, didn't talk about, that you may want addressed, here's our email addresses that if you want to reach out to us and have further questions, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay. So Lee, were there any questions, or does anybody have any questions?
So far, I haven't seen any in the chat, but I'll give them the opportunity to open their mics if they're interested.
Yeah, no worries. And we've had to work with two different computers today because of some technicalities. So I'm sorry about that. That's a little bit different. But I will tell you, when you're choosing a career pathway, be sure that you pick some of them that have short durations, like the auto safety inspector. We had that. Basic forklift was a 2-day certification. CNA is going to be longer, as well as pharmacy tech. If you notice the dates here, that's from January until April. And then our certified billing and coding, that's from February until April. So, you know, you may want some students, they may want to get in and get something done quickly, while others may think, you know what, it's worth what I'm interested in to be able to have a longer period of time. I don't mind doing my high school equivalency and also, you know, 3 or 4 months working on a career path.
So we do have a question from Shannon. What levels are you targeting for the pathways? Level 5 and 6 is what she just asked in the chat.
Okay, so we allow all students on from the lower, not score, so we would choose, if you're thinking about TABE, you would be looking at level 2, 3, 4, 5, and we don't have 6s in our program because most people who can make a 6, we graduate them out. They are not with us very long. So anything from all levels are able to participate in the career pathways.
Okay, and Margarita's also asked, I guess, to show again where to put the outcomes for the MPW. If you can show that slide again, that would be great. Oh, sorry, Margarita just said,
really not
it's
really not Margarita. It's Margarita's I'm an assistant registrar and I do most of this stuff for advances. So I want you to show me again where to put that.
Go ahead, Jess. So I think, Jessica, are you still with us?
Sorry, I thought it, sorry. You can go, I think it's 2 slides ahead.
Okay.
Maybe one more. Yes. Okay, so it's when you go right to the student's profile after you search for them and pull them up, the list of menu options, you just click on outcome, and the screenshot to the right that's what will pop up for you. It should be the first place that you can enter things in, and you'll just have to click on New Indicator. So it will pop up where you can enter in the date and then a drop down to choose which MSG it is.
That's a good question.
Okay, another question from Hannah is asking about ESL students. So did you have any ESL students or just HSC students as a part of your examples?
So we have not done the IELC. We have not done that, but that is part of what we'll be expanding upon, but we have not, no, not as of yet. And I will say I do have some students who are not part of the ESL, but they definitely have ESL background that went through the auto safety inspection course. They are GED high school equivalency students, but they did very well and completed their certification. I think the IELCE IET is a little bit more extensive, and Lindsay definitely is beautiful about helping walk you through that the IET when you submit it for approval. Okay.
Okay, and a follow-up from Hannah is how many students do you have in total who signed up for these IET pathways from the Expo event? Do you have those numbers?
I do. We had over 30 students. As I say, that was just a snippet from the students that, so that had over 30 students that were able to be and get registered that day.
Okay, and if I can just take a moment, we have one more minute. I'm going to unabashedly advertise our CCR blog. We did post, thanks to Mary Jane Hartley, an article, I guess it's a post, about the Career Pathways Expo, and I did share a link to that in the chat. So please come check out our blog and certainly read the post about what Rowan-Cabarrus did at their Career Pathways Expo. And Phyllis has asked, were 16, 17-year HSC students allowed to participate? Final question for Mary Jane.
Yes, we did not discriminate against students who were part of as a minor. We did not discriminate against that. Yeah. All eligible. So great questions. Thank you all so much for your time. It's a lovely journey. We're excited to be able to do it. If you want to come see our expo in March, we'd be happy to let you all come and see what that's all about. And you're welcome to come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Jane and Jay. And I love hearing about your expo. And every time I hear you share your story, I see that it sparks a lot of excitement and ideas in others. So that is a beautiful thing. So well, I just want you all to know that I am always here and happy to talk about any of this. So if there's any way that I can support you or work together with you as you get this stuff going, just feel free to reach out at any time. And oh, Dan, I don't remember what our early, do you guys remember what we have in December?
Gosh, I should have memorized that. But yes, we do have something coming up in December.
I can't remember. We have another one.
Marketing for career pathways and IETs. That will be December 13th. If you haven't registered, please register. I'm sure it'll be just as informational, insightful, and useful for building your IETs.
We also have our next instructional best practices from COABE webinar next Tuesday.
Yep.
And another COABE webinar on December 13th.
On a Tuesday, correct.
Just rolling out the webinars this year.
Come join us.
Hey, can Jay Taylor put her email in the chat, please? I like to talk with her.
Mary Jane.
I'm happy to put that up there. And let me just share the screen again really quick if that helps. Or I can just put it in there. Let me not take more time than necessary. I'll put you're welcome to reach out to Jessica Webb, and I'm just going to find the chat. Okay. the quick way to go to this. I'm a Zoom girl, and for some reason, I'm having a hard. There's the chat. Okay. So it's. There
I
you
got
go.
it.
Okay, you got it. There you
I
go.
think so. Mary Hartley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Took me a moment to find it, but yes, it's in the chat now.
You're fastly great.
I am. And let's just put Jay's in there too, huh?
And Jessica Webb
Yeah.
is our data retention specialist, and she is amazing as well. The support we have here, Jay Taylor is an incredible supervisor, director, and we are very, very blessed to have him because he's the one who helped and took a team of us to CORD. I can't stress enough how important CORD training is. So if you haven't been, go ahead and seize the opportunities to do that in the upcoming new year if they're going to offer some more, because it's well worth your time. Okay. All right.
Yes, that will be April at McDowell Tech. We will have CORD CPL training 1 and 2. So more to come on that soon, I think.
Thank you. So Margarita has some more questions. So we're happy to help. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for sticking around an extra 3 minutes. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you soon for our next webinar.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.